that they have, to 2000, and then finally to 2007. And what we see is this enormous growth of one of the cities over the other, although in fact in terms of GDP and in terms of population, in terms of needs of everyone, in terms of the welfare of the collectivities that live in those cities, nothing really has changed that much. The second type of example is basically a well-known example about the differences between the levels of the level of payments and the levels of revenues in Catalonia, in terms of public spending and public revenues. The first graph shows payments and spendings just to public administration in Catalonia. There is a difference of about 10,000 million euros the first year of the graph, and then it goes to about a difference of 15,000 million euros. The second graph shows the same difference, but now including the transfers through the social security system. And what we see is that there is a huge deficit that in fact has been growing over time. The third graph shows the same results, but then with a difference now expressed in percentage terms of GDP, and it's showing a fiscal deficit of about 9 to 10% of GDP, depending on the year. So extremely extraordinary differences that have no comparison, are not matched by any region, not the richest region in Europe. The third example is just about the consequences at the individual level of this very unjust system, this very unjust fiscal arrangement. I'm showing here the level of public expenditure in euros per capita in health. This is the vertical axis of the graph, and compare it with the per capita income in euros too. And each one of these dots is a country. What we see is that there is a strong relationship between the income of each country and the public expenditure in public health. Countries that are relatively poor in Europe, like Portugal or Greece, spend less in per capita terms in health. Countries that are extremely rich, like Norway and Luxembourg, also spend much more in public health. This may be just driven by the fact that wages, by salaries of the physicians and so on are related to per capita income in each country. Now, where is Catalonia here? Well, the next graph shows, this red dot shows the position of Catalonia. Catalonia has a per capita income similar to Belgium, similar to Sweden, certainly higher than Italy, than Spain, Greece, Portugal. Yet, in terms of spending per capita in public health, which is one of the fundamental things in the social pact that defines democracies today around the world, it's doing worse than Portugal. Notice that this is something that is going on before the cuts that have been implemented in the last month by the new government. Now, not everything has to be negative in this talk, of course, and so that's why I want to go to the second point. So after talking about why the Catalan cause is a just cause, I want to talk about the context in which this problem is taking place. In the past, in the old world, in 19th century Europe, conditions were such that Catalans, when they demanded autonomy, not always, but whenever they mobilized to demand some measure of self-government, always acted very cautiously. Spain was, like any other nation in Europe, a closed market. It was difficult to trade outside the borders defined by the nation state. And at that time, armies were strong, conflict was rife, And as the graph shows, Barcelona, the capital of this dearly beloved territory of Spain, was protected, was bombed many times to make sure that nothing went wrong in that city. Now today this has changed. It has changed because now free trade, globalization are the what define our world. The graph that I'm showing points at the increase in the level of trade among nations in the last 40, 50 years. There has been a steady increase, and in fact, not coincidentally, not randomly, the number of countries has also increased dramatically. The number of nations have grown because they have a chance to trade with each other in a peaceful world. They do not have to depend on the national markets of the past. So in that sense, things have changed for a lot of countries, but also for Catalonia. It's not just that things have changed in terms of the economy of the world, they have also changed in terms of the politics of the world. There has been a progressive transformation of international law, well discussed by Professor Danbury and Dr. Ehrlich, from the moment Woodrow Wilson convinced European nations, European states to accept the principle of self-determination. There has been a progression, some recognition of the possibility of self-determination. Naturally, this has basically happened for colonial territories. This is the point of the declarations of the United Nations in the 1960s and the 1970s. But just to point to the last development in that sense, in the Kosovo opinion, the International Court of Justice makes clear that although the principle of self-determination or the right to self-determination is not recognized by international law, it's not prohibited either. It is not just that the international system, the concert of nations, accepts the possibility of self-determination if it happens under some conditions of peace, transparency and democracy. It is also that things have fundamentally changed in Europe. Today we have the European Union. The European Union is basically the embodiment of the Kantian project of peace among nations. And so in that context, small nations do not have to worry about aggressive neighbors. It is true that the European Union is going through tough times, but I think that it is essentially a solid project that makes possible for many to live in a different way, to abandon the chains of the past. All these things explain what I would call a rational change of heart in Catalan public opinion. I'm showing one survey done about 2 years ago, but things have not changed. In fact, things have kind of solidified in that sense, where about 45-50% of the population would vote yes to independence, and only 20 to 25 would vote against, and the others would abstain. The numbers vary slightly, but not much. Now, things have changed. The Catalan public has responded in line with the times. It is true that not everything is easy, as Professor Danbury stressed.